Bop, 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 bop. We're signing in. Geeks are back, baby. We got a fight night going down. Just like last week, we're staying at the Apex. Now we got Andrade versus Lemos. It is a main event for the females. It's going down. We're going to start from the bottom to the top, work our way up, break down the picks. Let's start with Dean Barry versus Mike Jackson. Holy moly, the line on this is inflato. Dean Barry's like minus 1,000. Mike Jackson plus 700, 800, somewhere around there. What a matchup. I have no idea why Mike Jackson is in the UFC, but his only dub was revoked because it was CM Punk. If you don't know who that is, go turn on the WWE, maybe catch a Friday Night SmackDown, maybe a throwback Monday Night Raw tech. Mike Jackson not equipped to be where he is. He is a regional boxer is the best way I would describe this guy. Dean Barry, young talent out of Ireland. He's 4-1, has not fought very many bodies, 5 MMA fights. Super tough to bet on a guy minus 1,000 with 5 MMA fights. I'm definitely staying out of this. Maybe a dabble on Mike Jackson just because this line is ridiculous. Stay away. I advise. Let's move on to Goosey.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm gonna pick Dean Barry to win the fight, but definitely not worth the value that he is being shown. He's like minus 1,200 I saw. But for UFC fans, you get to see what fighters on the regional scene will look like with Mike Jackson because he should not be in the UFC. He does have hands though, and maybe could get a knockout. I don't know, but I don't think he's gonna win. So I'm picking Dean Barry.
Yeah, Dano.
Yeah, the line is just so off-putting at minus. What I have here is 1,100. 1,200 doesn't make a big difference because it's way up there. Mike Jackson's gonna have a puncher's chance, like you said. He's a boxer. He's got some hands, and Dean Barry's style, he like keeps his hands a little low and he marches forward. So, there's always a possibility that's gonna happen. But I think Dean Barry's on another level of Mike Jackson. Maybe not too many levels ahead, but I do think he's on a level above. Mike Jackson, 0-1, probably going to be 0-2. It's tough to go into a fight being a plus 700 underdog. With odds these big, it's usually Amanda Nunes fight. It's usually Shevchenko fight. So it's odd to see these odds so big. So, it's kind of like, how can you not go Barry? But I'm probably going to stay away from this, but I'm going to go with Barry in this one.
All right, Fish.
Yeah, I'm riding Barry. We were at his last fight in Florida, in Miami. Finished the guy in 21 seconds, but the guy was also 6-30, but I think he's going to get the win over Mike Jackson.
Yeah, brief. That one's weird. But let's move into the next one. We got a heavyweight Scraparino. Marcin Prachnio moves in versus Filip Lins. Both these guys around 14-5. Prachnio 15-5. Decent scrap. I think these guys are going to come out and have a competitive bout. I think Prachnio has got a little bit more tools in his tool bag to reach into, maybe pull out some wrestling. He looked good in his last scrap. He came out against who was it? Ikeville nueva, who's also on this card. We're going to talk about him in a little bit, which, I guess not the most impressive to look good against Ikeville nueva, but he did. He has a win over Khalil Roundtree. I'm going to take him in this fight just to barely edge out just slightly less experienced Lins. So let's move on to Fishman off rip.
Yeah, so Felipe Lins, 0-2 in the UFC in 2020. He lost to Andre Arlovsky, unanimous decision, and got knocked out by Tanner Boser, who is not on this card anymore. But on the other hand, Marcin, we're going to ride with this dude. His last 2 were wins in 2021, knockout over Ike Villanueva, and like you said, Khalil Roundtree. I think he mixes his strikes up better, and he doesn't just headhunt. I think he'll work Felipe to the body and just beat him up overall. Good stand-up. and riding with Marcin.
Let's go, Dano.
Yeah, I like Linz in this one, and it's because Prakniel in his little track record he's got prior, I think 3 fights. He had 2 fights, his last 2 fights, and then after that, last 3 fights were all first round TKO losses. So that's not a good sign. And then we got Filip Linz, who's coming off 2 losses, but the 3 before that were stoppage wins, 2 TKOs and one submission. So we have Linz, who got knocked out by Tanner Boser, like you said, but we're going down a weight class. We're going to have Filip Linz coming down to light heavyweight. I feel like he's got a lot of power. He's got a lot of stoppage wins. Hopefully that power can come down with him in the weight cut. I'm going to be interested to see the scales on Friday, I think, Thursday, Friday. And then I just like Linz. I think he's going to be a bigger dude. Prakniel, it's going to be a tough fight, but he is susceptible to being knocked out, and Linz has got the power. So I'm going to ride with Linz.
Valid take, Gusa.
In this battle of the bots, I think Prakniel is less of a bot, so I'm picking him because you look at it, Prakniel brings a little bit more volume. He is a natural light heavyweight. Linz is coming down. Linz doesn't necessarily have bad losses at heavyweight, but they were bad performances, so it's not a great look. But yeah, I see this being a striking matchup. I think Prakniel brings a little more volume. Linz did not do well against Boser's karate style, and that's the style that Prakniel fights out of. So yeah, and I was thinking about picking Linz for the power. I think he does have some good pop in his shots, but he hasn't fought since 2020, and in that time, he's pulled out of like 4 or 5 fights. So it's hard for me to pick that guy in this one. I'm going Prakniel.
Yeah, valid. The line on that one's close to even. I think it's about -124 for Prakniel. So very affordable price right there. We're going to move on to the next one. We got Archie Lang versus Cameron Else. Cameron Else 10-5. This is a bantamweight scrap, I believe. Might be flyweights. Archie Lang 20-11. Here we go on this one. I think Archie Lang, right off rip, I think the Archie Lang stand-up is going to be a difference in this fight. I think Archie Lang is really good at like getting inside with his head movement, and just his footwork is pretty good. And I think he's a dog, man. I think that he comes out in this fight. I think it's tough. I think it gets a little scrappy in situations. I think that Cameron can do things on the ground. He can wrestle a decent amount, but I think at the end of the day, Archie Lang is going to find a home for a right hand. Whether it comes over the top or it's an uppercut, I feel like those are the 2 angles he's going to come at in this fight, and I feel like he's going to land one. So I'm taking Archie Lang by a late finish in this fight. That's my take. Let's go Goosey off rip.
Yeah, jumping into it. You got Archie Lang, boxer, with a little bit of wrestling in his back pocket, and Cameron Else, he's trying to get this fight to the floor. We've seen Archie Lang getting some wars recently. He's battle tested. He hasn't come out on the right side and all of those, but he has put on good performances. We haven't seen Cameron Else in a while, and Cameron Else is coming down to 125. His last fight was at 135. Being that I already questioned Cameron Else's toughness, I think that drop down to 125 is going to make him even a little bit softer in this one. And Archie Lang's a dog, so I'm going to pick him to get the win.
Let's go. Fish.
Yeah, I'm also riding with Archie Lang. I'm riding with him because it kind of reminds me of last week's fight with Kroom, and we kind of rode with Kroom, and he was around 34. Cameron Else is 34. Archie Lang has pop in the hands, never been knocked out, and I'm gonna ride with the younger dude this time, who's got the pop in his hands, and hopefully it turns out like last week.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately for us, but it's okay. But Dano.
Yeah, CEO, I think you said it perfectly with I Archie Lang that he's quick, he's fast, he's powerful, he's got good hands. And if you look at a lot of his fights, his past 5 fights at least are all second round finishes, third round finishes, decisions. So he's durable. He's able to go longer in fights. Whereas if you look at Elsa's record, his last fight was over 2 years ago, a little around 2 years ago. And most of them are first round finishes. And then his loss to Kyler Phillips last was him getting tired in the first and then came out in the second, got put away. So I think if Archie Lang can bring him to deeper waters, bring him to later rounds, that power and quickness is going to catch up to LSA, and I think it's going to be a finish.
Yeah, if you're a big prop guy, this is a great Archie Lang round 3 dabble. I mean, those lines are great. Those can't not do good dropping little lines on those. Whatever. Here we go. We're moving into the next one. We got a light heavyweight scrap between Ike Villanueva and Tyson Pedro. Now, Ike Villanueva, I watched an interview with him not too long ago. He knows exactly where he's at. It's a 18-3 Ike Villanueva who knows that his career is very much on thin ice right now. He's taking this camp very seriously. He does have heavy hands. He does show projectability. With all of this being said, I am not taking Ike Villanueva in this fight, even though I feel for him. I know he needs this. I know he's going to come out to scrap, but I think Tyson Pedro puts his lights out in round 1, just putting his foot on the gas a little bit too much. Every time I see this fight playing out in my head, I want to see like an Ike Villanueva, like kind of like a Tai Tuivasa, Derek Lewis, where like he's getting murked and he's standing up on the side of the cage and he does something crazy. But I can't see it. I cannot see it. I got Tyson Pedro round 1 with the cleaner hands and the heavier shots and the better movement. Take me to the next prediction, Dano.
Yeah, I'm riding that same thing. I got Pedro, and just like I said about Else, how it was kind of a negative, how his last fight was so long ago. We got Pedro, whose last fight was I think 2018, right around there. So he's been off for a long time. But Ike Villanueva's been active, but he's been active not in a good way, because even though he has been active, he's been getting knocked out. He's losing fights. Like you said, he's on the brink of his career, but I don't think that's going to play a huge factor into his style, because he's just like every fight I watch, he starts all right and then fades to a classic heavyweight fight where they're both tired and they're both just swinging, and Ike Villanueva's feet are planted, and a lot can go wrong with that. So I don't want to waste a pick on hoping that what a guy usually doesn't happen. Pedro is a stud. He's a big ass dude, and Ike Villanueva's lost by submission 5 times. Pedro's good on the ground. He's bigger than Villanueva, so he's going to be able to put him in some positions that maybe Villanueva hasn't been in before or in a while. So I'm going to go Pedro inside the distance.
Let's go. Goosey.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Tyson Pedro on this one. The only thing giving me concerns is the layoff. That being said, I would not have been able to pick Ike Villanueva for the reasons that he goes in there and he brawls. But the problem is he doesn't have the skills, chin, or talent to do that. He is currently landing 4 strikes per minute and getting hit with 7.9 in the UFC. And the cardio fails after the first round. So I don't really see a path to victory for him unless he just chins Pedro, which could happen. He's probably not going to be the cleanest he's ever looked in there, but I still think he's good enough to get it done over Hurricane Ike.
Fish.
Yeah, so Ike, 1-4 in the UFC, and what I didn't like in that, like Dano said, and a couple of you guys said, he's been subbed 5 times, and Pedro's got 5 subs himself. So I think even Pedro's he's got a sub threat for sure. And like when I first looked at it, he wasn't active, but like you guys said, I mean, his last 3 fights, he was 1-2 in 2018, but he got subbed by Vince St. Preux, and a bunch of people could say they got subbed by him. So, but I think he's got the dub over Ike, a 1-4 UFC versus a 3-3 in the UFC. So let's get that.
Yeah, 100%. Let's move on to the next one. We got a great scrapper. We're gonna get some dog price, at least for me. We got Dwight Grant versus Sergey Kandazov. Kandazoko. Butchered. Doesn't matter. Sergey's 27-6. Dwight Grant's 11-4. Sergey, a lot of the tape I'm watching, he's a counter striker. Dangerous guy. Not the most elusive. Dwight Grant, on the other hand, power puncher, also can counter strike, play that game. For this reason, I'm taking Dwight Grant to just do something, man. I really think that Dwight Grant, he's never lost back-to-back fights in the UFC. I'm not even sure if he's lost back-to-back fights in his career. I think Dwight Grant bounces back after a loss and knocks out Sergey trying to play the counter game with the wrong guy. So give me Dwight Grant at an underdog price right now and take that one to the bank, baby. Let's go Dano off rip.
Yeah, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but we got another fighter who's been off for a long time. Sergey's last fight was in 2019, and this one I'm going to think it's also a negative for him. Dwight Grant's an experienced dude, older guy, been in there with some good names. And then Sergey's last fight, he's coming off a loss, and little shout out, last fight was on the Zabit Cater card, which is a crazy fight. And shout out Zabit. Hopefully he comes back. But I'm going to stick with Grant. Experience. He's got good hands. He's quick. And he just knows what to do inside the octagon.
Yeah, facts. Goosey.
This one, this is a fight that I'm pretty torn on. My initial thought going into this video was Sergey, but I was not confident in that whatsoever. I will say I might dabble a little split decision line because these two guys could get in there and end up taking pictures of each other, not wanting to throw, making it hard for the judges to do their job. So I think it'll be a close fight. Whoever wins, your guess is as good as mine, but I'll pick Sergey.
Okay, Fishman, break it down.
Yeah, so Grant, 3-3 in the UFC. He had a Dana White Contender Series knockout in season 2. His last 3 fights, he lost to Francisco Trinaldo, who is now not in the UFC. RIP the guy. And he got knocked out by D-Rod. And that guy's got some pop, never been finished. But this dude, overall in the fight, I think he's got more experience in the octagon. He's only been knocked out one time. Sergey's only been knocked out one time. But they both have a bunch of knockouts. Sergey, he was last active in 2019, so that's also a reason to ride with Grant. Underdog pick too. So yeah, I'm riding with Grant. I think he's a good underdog pick in this one.
Yeah, let's go. For a fight that is going to be a coin toss, take the dog. Let's go, man. Dwight Grant also has finishing power, so let's get that going. Let's move on to the next one. We got the Beverly Hills Ninja, Jordan Wright, 12-2, stepping out against Marc-Andre Barriault, the Canadian, 13-5 himself. This fight's going to be an absolute scrap. Like, these guys come out and they throw some shit. Like, these boys throw some shit. And the crazy thing about this fight is they're both coming off really bad knockouts. And not that long ago. Like, these guys got their brains melted not that long ago. So their chins are definitely question marks coming into this. Jordan Wright, on the other hand, he's a huge guy that's going to be stepping in for a middleweight. Barriault more on the stockier side. He's more of a bite down on your mouthpiece, walk forward, throw heavy shots. Jordan Wright, on the other hand, very bouncy karate kicks, all kinds of unorthodox strikes. I like Jordan Wright, man. I think his defense is very, suspect, the way he backs up with his chin in the air, sometimes backs up in straight lines. But I think that Barriault, he really just got his claw cleaned like not too long ago, and he didn't look good in that fight. So I think Jordan Wright is going to come to the table early with some serious shit, and I just think that it's going to be a little bit too much for Burial. I think there just wasn't enough time for him to recuperate, get back on the wagon, and come back and be where he needs to beat a guy like Jordan Wright. Bruno Silva knocked out Jordan Wright. Bruno Silva murks people, so I'm not going to discredit him too bad. I do worry about his head a little bit, but one of these guys is going down. That's what I got to say. And I think it's going to be Burial. Let's go Fishman off rep.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page as you. Jordan Wright, I can't give him I don't discredit him for his losses. Bruno Silva, like you said, just had a great fight against Alex Pereira, one of the greatest strikers in the UFC right now, just doesn't have much experience. But Bruno Silva, I mean, he got popped. Joaquin Buckley's got popped. And Jordan Wright, I think he's got those weird strikes where he's not a typical striker like everyone else, and kind of like Chitty. I think he's going to get splatted. But on the other hand, Mark, he's Sanford MMA guy. That was the first time he's gotten knocked out. And so, I mean, tough to pick, but underdog pick. I think Jordan Wright's going to get it done.
Yeah, love that dog money, baby. Let's see if we got any inverse takes going on over here. Goosey, what we got?
I got that this one is going to be an absolute firefight for however long it lasts. Probably not too long. If Marc-Andre Barriault didn't just get his lights put out 2 months ago, I would pick him. But he's stepping in on short notice. This wasn't his fight. I forgot who pulled out against Jordan Wright, but Marc-Andre stepped in. And, you look at this. Jordan Wright is going to hit him hard and stun him in the first round. And I think having that damage done just 60 days ago is going to play a factor. Without that, I think he probably is able to grit through it, but I don't see him making it out of the first round in this one. If he does, though, I think Barriault probably grinds it to a decision, but surviving that first round is going to be a tough task for him. And that's why I'm picking the Beverly Hills Ninja.
Let's go. Dano.
Gosh, man, I like Burial too, but I feel like he's just coming back too quick. And with short notice fights, it's either people who are stepping in maybe because their fight got canceled for some reason and need a fight. But it seems like Burial's trying to step back in to hurry up and get back in the win column. Forget about the last fight, which was a 16-second tough performance by him. But I think it's too quick. Beverly Hills Ninja, even though he did get knocked out his last fight, I feel like that plays into his style where he's always hunting the knockout. And if not, he could get countered, which he did in his last fight, or he can kind of gas out. Burial used to go not quite the distance all the time, but he'd go late in fights, even go to distance in some of them. So he was a durable guy, but I feel like it's too quick. And Jordan Wright, I feel like he just has too many holes in his game for Burial's power, right? And for that reason, I'm going to step back and I'm going to not have a choice in this fight, but I'm going to lock the under 2.5.
Let's go. Dano's lock of the week, under 2.5 for the Beverly Ninja and the
Also, one more thing I forgot to note. The Beverly Hills Ninja, he alternates wins and losses, coming off a loss, and Mark Burial, he gets his wins and losses in bunches. So he might stack together a few losses here.
Yo, tell him that other fact about Jordan Wright.
The other fact that his first 7 fights, he never fought anyone with a win. And I'm still picking him.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. All right, those are the prelim picks. Got to click the next video for the main picks. Let's go. Last week we got all the love on the prelim video. Let's go, baby. That's the shout to the real boys out here.
Hey, not on the prelims.
Yeah, let's go, man.
Watch the prelim.
All right, catch us in the main.